Intervals are the cornerstone of great music reading. If you're not sure why I would consider intervals to be more important than, say, note names or something like that, then go and watch this video and come back to me when you're ready to start drilling intervals. I'll wait right here. Hey beautiful teachers, my name's Nicola. I'm a piano teacher in Dublin in Ireland, and on this channel I share tips and ideas to help you become a better music teacher and have more fun in your lessons. If you're on board with teaching intervals to your students, then you need some ways to practice them, right? And what better way than using games? So in this video I've got some free options, some iPad options, and some options from my membership Vibrant Music Teaching, so let's go ahead and dive in. The first game is simply called Piano Race, and this one all you need is a die. I like to use big foam die because you can throw them all over the room, but whatever you have on hand is fine. And then two small toys of some descriptions. These are Iwako erasers. So to play this game, you simply put these on one end of your piano. Our game counters are over there ready to go, and we just roll the die. And let's say it lands on a 6. Well, the crocodile is now going to move forward a 6th. So you can have your students tap this out at first like this, tapping 1 where they are. So if they're starting on A, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then it would be the unicorns go, and let's say she only gets 1. That means she's stuck on the A. And they keep moving along like this. I know my dice rolls are not very fair there. That's because I don't want to throw it on the floor and have it end up all the way over there and you can't see it. But you get the idea. So you can continue until they reach middle C if you want a shorter game, or you can continue all the way up to the top. Through this game, students are learning the way intervals work on the piano, and this is of course a really important prerequisite to understanding what they mean on the staff and relating the two together. But it is a step that is so often missed, so don't skip this game. After students get used to intervals on the piano, they can start to think about them on the staff. And my first game for this is called the Step Ladder. This is one of the ones from inside Vibrant Music Teaching, and the way it works is that students turn over cards and they either step up or down the ladder. It is very simple. It's about up and down and getting used to patterns of steps. One thing you might notice about this game is that although it's a beginner level game, it includes all kinds of note values. That's done so that students get used to the idea of the note head, giving the meaning for whether we step up or down, the movement through notes, and that we can disregard the note stems if we're not focused on the rhythm, or that they're a different piece of information. There's also bar lines in between them, because I find oftentimes students get confused once there's a bar line, even though it's still the same interval. So this game helps to cover all of those bases. Our next one is an absolute classic from the membership, and that is Interval, Sprinterval, Schminterval. This is a simple game where the game board is a grand staff and students need to move up through it. So this is basically the equivalent of what we just did in the piano race, but your students will have done a month or so before getting to this game, and students can use it to discover. One of the fantastic aspects of this game is that it works on 2 levels. So I will often have 2 students playing it together, and one of them is tapping out the intervals carefully, and the other one needs to jump directly to the interval. So if it's a 6, they don't get to count it out by tapping the board or touching anything. They need to do it with their eyes and then jump. And then the final level for this game, to make it even harder, is you have to name the note before you even jump to it. So I'm going to land on E and then you jump to E. So students can build this up over time, and it really is such a fun game to play together. Once students have started to become comfortable with intervals like this and they've played a few different games, that's when I'd introduce Minterval. And Minterval is a game that, or a set of cards, a challenge that is available to non-members as well. So you can get the link in the description and download this totally for free. It's my gift to you. These are cards in which the student needs to name the interval and play it on the piano. They do not need to play it in one particular spot. They can play it anywhere, and this helps to reinforce the difference between notes and intervals, and how intervals are independent of the clef or the part of the staff they're on or anything like that. And students love trying to beat the clock on this. So the way it works is that there's a bronze level, a silver level, and a gold level. And students will first try and master the bronze level, as you may have guessed, and they will try and get it under a minute, getting through all the flashcards in less than a minute, 3 weeks in a row. And once they do that, they have completed that level and they move to silver, which obviously includes more different intervals and more cards, so they need to go faster. And then gold is faster still and intervals up to an octave. The notation on these cards is nice and big, so it's a really good opportunity for students to get used to counting out intervals if they need to, and noticing the patterns and the similarities between, say, fourths always look like a space and a line this far apart, without having to really look closely at notation that has a whole other bunch of stuff on it. Next up, we have an iPad app called Notequest. So this app is really special because I don't know of any other that drills intervals in this way where it listens. There are quite a few that do this for note names, but not so much for intervals. So I love that Grace has created this. And I actually interviewed Grace on the channel here, so if you want to check that out after this video, that might be interesting to you. We're going to go to Note class. So NoteFit is a site reading cards and it's a subscription. We're going to go to the interval drilling, and that's in Note class. And we're going to tap on real piano or MIDI. If your student is using this without an instrument of any kind, then they can use the virtual piano. And then instead of notes up the top here, I'm going to go to intervals and interval selector. So you do have to have the paid version of this app if you're going to use this section, as far as I'm aware, at least right now you do. So there's all different mixes here, which I love. I'm going to go to the seconds and thirds mix just to show you. So we play middle C to start. Now we play it, and it only uses landmark notes as the starting note. Okay, you get the idea there. We would continue, and then it gives us how long it took us to get through that level. And then it goes up and up, so there's fourths and fifths mix set, and there's different sets, so that there's nice variety for students as well. So there's more variety in that set, as you can see. I don't know any other app that works like this, so if you know one, make sure to let me know in the comments because I would love to hear about it. But I think this app is pretty unique for listening to the piano and practicing intervals, especially basing the seconds and thirds off of the landmark notes like it does, which is so handy for those of us who teach intervallic reading. Back to printed games now, which are my favorite for most things, and this one is called Nimble Neighbors. So in this game, students need to move fast, which is why I love introducing it at this stage. So we've explored the intervals on the piano, we've built that up into board games, and then we're doing the interval flashcards. And this is another great way to work on getting intervals right fast and matching them up fast. So it's a great complement to Minterval challenge work. This is a card game and it's fast paced, so you will want to be gentle with your pacing if you're playing this with a student, but if you're playing it with two students together, it works great for them to challenge each other. And they could also teach it to their parent at home and have them play against them. That would be a great challenge and a bonding experience for them to learn about intervals together. Our next one is called Smush It, and this is in some ways maybe similar to Nimble Neighbors that we just had before. However, it is different because it's only 4ths, 5ths and 6ths. And the reason I created this game for Vibrant Music Teaching members was to focus on that troublesome spot. I find that students initially, they get used to 2nds and 3rds, and that's a bit wobbly, but they get there. And then it's fine, and it's plain sailing, and we introduce 5ths, and that's not an issue. And maybe we introduce 4ths, and that's not really an issue, but it's starting to give way. And once we bring in 6ths, everything gets a bit muddled again. And they can't identify those intervals quite as quickly as they used to be able to. So this is where Smush It comes in and helps students to really get comfortable with 4ths versus 5ths versus 6ths and doing them fast. Now we get to our next one, which is actually the level at which I would have first been introduced to the word interval. Maybe for you too. I didn't learn through an intervallic reading method. My teachers did not talk to me about intervals until I had to learn about interval qualities. And that's where Spark and Fire is a great first step. This one introduces students to just major and minor 2nds and 3rds only. So it's a great introductory step for students to get used to interval qualities while keeping it really limited and not dealing with perfects or anything like that, or definitely no diminished in there. Nice and simple and a great place to start. And then lastly on my list, I have a challenge one for you. This is Perfect Puzzle. This one does include all different types of interval qualities, and it's an awesome challenge for students at that intermediate level who need to work on this for a theory exam or just for general knowledge on perfects versus majors versus minors versus diminished and how all of those things fit together. I have just barely scratched the surface of some of the offerings we have for intervals. Remember, you can download your free Minterval challenge set below if you're not a Vibrant Music Teaching member. But if you do want to become a Vibrant Music Teaching member and get access to an amazing wealth of games on not just intervals, but everything else you can imagine with music theory, then consider subscribing at vibrantmusicteaching.com. That's it for this video. I'll see you next time. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and I hope you enjoyed.